Everyone, welcome to the February 2016 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting, Town of Carmel. The way we operate is we'll hear the cases, you come up, I'll swear you in. Only those who are going to speak have to get sworn in. If you're not going to speak, then that's fine. We'll hear the cases, and then at the end of the night, we'll decide where there'll be no input after the meeting's been closed, or the hearing on each applicant's been closed. All right, join me for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All the board members' names are in front of you. We have Town Council Joe Charbonneau and Code Enforcement Officer Mike Carnazzo is joining us tonight. First application is Maloney. They had asked for an adjournment until next month. Do I have a motion?
Actually, I think they asked for a dismissal.
They withdrew.
There were other violations written on the property. They're going to be coming in front of the board with
Okay. I thought I remember
full
seeing
site plan and a few other things.
Okay.
So I think it was a full withdrawal.
Yeah, I believe.
Okay. I'll
Dismissed
recall
without
that.
prejudice, I think is what they asked for.
I'm looking it up.
So I'm looking for a withdrawal. So do I have a motion
So moved.
to dismiss without prejudice?
Seconded.
Yeah, it is a withdrawal, I just checked. Okay.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks. And number two, Michael Freeman, they're looking for an adjournment. My apologies on that. So do I have a motion
So
for that until
moved.
next month?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Number three is Mark Webster. Mr. Webster? Okay, come on up to the podium. State your name for the record into the microphone, please.
Steve Frederola.
Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
All right, let us know what the situation is here, what you're looking to do.
They're looking for a variance for what is considered a potting shed on the property. It's been there for about 100 years, I believe.
Okay, and they need a variance of 15 feet, 20-foot setback. I was up there myself. It looks like it's been there for 100 years.
Yeah.
Looks like it could be a bomb shelter, but it blended in pretty nicely into the hillside and,
John, this was part of a subdivision, and they put that line there. And I guess at the time, they decided they weren't going to go, they went for other variances, so I don't know why they didn't include that. They wrote to be removed on it, and they never removed it.
Okay.
Being the house was existing, there was no work done on it. We never revisited it, so we didn't even see that they did not remove the shelter, whatever you want to call it, the ice house, potting
it's a root
shed,
cellar,
whatever you want to call it. So it was an oversight, and it was something that he's been using ever since he's been there, as far as I know, Mr. Webster.
it's well-maintained, it's in good shape, it's got some kind of gazebo type
Yeah,
on top of it, and the fence next door really segregates it pretty well. But there's no other property that they can buy to bring it into conformance, I presume?
I don't believe so.
Okay. You know, the whole property is pretty meticulous and well-kept, so. Any input from the board?
I have no questions.
Down here? You guys
No
good?
questions, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Input from the public?
Do I have a motion to close the public hearing on this?
We have the public on it?
Oh, I'm sorry, any input from the public on this application?
No, once you get this, you can-
Okay, motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Number four. I'm gonna try here. Dedvukaj? Oh, okay. State your name for the record, please,
Mark Dedvukaj?
and raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
All right, let us know what you're looking to do.
I'm looking to open a front door in my house. When I purchased the house, the front entrance is kind of located towards the rear of the house. It's awkwardly located in an awkward location where we use the front door currently. Since I purchased the house, we've been entering and exiting through the kitchen. And I currently don't have a front entrance to the house. It's just a side entrance that we use.
Yeah, so it's wide, it's wide open right now. You have Tyvek on it, right?
Yes. It's not wide open, the structure hasn't been touched. I wrapped the house in stucco and I left that particular area without doing anything to it until I get the approval.
All right, and you're gonna put footings out there, or you pouring a
It's
slab?
gonna be a cement landing with footings and we're looking to do an overhang over the door from the roof.
Okay, so you need a 8-foot variance for that, which is kind of minimal for a 40-foot setback. The shed is not there, obviously, when I went out there on Saturday. That's kind of tight for the board, and I'm sure most of the members would agree if we can bring that in, since it's not been built yet, to come to a number that we can agree on, that's, you know,
Understood. There was a shed when I first purchased the house. I asked Mike, as a matter of fact, it was done illegally and I had it removed when I first purchased the house, so.
okay, good.
There's no shed. I'm just looking for something to fit the lawn tractor and snow blower and.
No, it makes sense. I know you want to bring it to the corner as tight as possible, but it's our job to grant the minimal possible and come to some kind of agreement. So, I mean,
Understood.
if you have a 15-foot setback on both rear yard and side yard, and you're looking for 2 feet to remain, let's bring this in. I mean, you guys want to throw some numbers out there, and,
These are two rears, right, because of the corner?
yeah.
Right.
It should be 5 feet minimum anyway. I mean, the fire code doesn't allow for anything less minimum. I'm not saying that's a starting
I
point.
mean, we don't want to bring it in too much, because you got if I remember the property,
Right.
you got the driveway that it ends into, it almost
Right.
looked like a garage. Not that it would be due to the size, but I would say maybe 5 feet from the left side and maybe 7 feet more forward towards the front of the house, just to throw some numbers out there.
I also have my well located in that area, so I gotta see if that's gonna,
Oh, do you know exactly where it is, or no?
the well is approximately 4 feet to the left of the rear corner of the house.
So you're gonna want to stay away from that anyway,
Yeah, I got it.
as it is, so maybe 7 and 7 would be a little more.
Well, 7 and 7 would throw me practically in the house.
Yeah, no,
There's not that much room there.
Well, it depends on what size the shed is, which I don't think you cite here.
Do you have the survey here? Is it on there?
Yeah, we had put
The well's
five-
not on the survey.
it's five-
The well is not?
Negative.
You want to just show me quickly where your well is?
Is located,
Oh, so it's more than,
it's within the edge of the house. It's located about approximately 4 feet from the house, 4.5 feet.
okay, so what size shed are you,
I'm looking to do 5 by 10, 5, 6 by whatever, allowable. Something that could fit a lawnmower, snow blower, that's about it.
What size did you say?
5 by 10, 5 by 8.
standard size?
6 by 8 is, you're not gonna get a 5.
More of a standard.
Yeah.
8 by 10 is more
by 8.
normal. They're probably cheaper than the smaller one. Believe it or not.
All right, well, not knowing exactly where your well is as it pertains to this survey, I would say let's just try to keep it minimal as possible. 5 and 5, and I think would sound fair.
And if he can do better, he can.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
If I
bringing
can
it
do
to him,
better, I'll
but
definitely, you know.
We'll grant at least the 5
But the
and 5.
maximum will be 5.
Does that sound decent?
Sounds reasonable.
Okay. There's no other property you can buy to bring it into conformance. Obviously, you're surrounded by neighbors.
No, it's tight.
All right, on the board?
No questions?
Do you have a second shed?
No.
Because on the,
It was there, that was the one that was illegal when I first purchased the house, and that was removed. It was not by permit there.
oh, okay, so it's gone.
Yeah, that's been gone since day one. It was a steel shed,
Okay.
an eyesore.
Do you happen to have the, what was advertised? Because on our agenda, it says 14-foot variance, but on his application, it's 8. So if it was advertised incorrectly, we'd have to bring this
How
back.
was it advertised?
It says, on our
Oh, yeah.
agenda, it says 14-foot variance.
The math is just wrong.
Would you happen to have the,
And mine says 15, 2 and 2, 13 and 13.
What does it say for variance
14.
required for the porch?
I think it's over advertised.
40 front, 32, 14.
That's the
That doesn't
math.
add up.
Right.
Actually, he needs a lesser variance. He
Right, he needs
advertised
8 feet.
14, and he advertised 14.
Right.
I'm saying it's right on the application.
It's right on there.
I don't know what was advertised. If it was
Right, he only
advertised
needs 8.
incorrect, we'd have to
Yeah.
hold it over.
Which is right on the application.
I think you can,
He's looking for less than what we advertised.
Yeah, I think we're
looking for
okay
less,
because
can
it's
we
less
amend
than we
it?
advertised.
I think you're all right.
All right?
It's bigger than what was requested, so you're all right.
Okay. So we'll just amend it to say 8.
What you're gonna do is change the numbers and have them initial on the file copy.
Yeah,
You want me to get the file?
if you don't mind, Mike, thanks.
The application's right, Joe.
Gotcha, I got you.
The application's correct.
Catch?
No problem.
75245 tax number?
Yes.
Come on up, just sign the application, we'll change it to the correct numbers. Thanks, Mike.
I think it's correct in the application, John. It was just wrong in the advertisement.
Well, let's see.
So we have
No, it's right on the application,
Correct on that.
so it's just wrong in our paperwork.
Yeah, it's just ours.
He's less.
Don't worry about
No problem.
it. Pass that back down, please.
And he's gonna do 5.
All right, any input from the public on this application? Anybody wish to be heard, or any questions? Okay, all in favor for, well, I'll look for a motion to close this,
Motion
Hearing.
closed.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, number 5, John Gallagher. How are you?
How are you?
State your name for the record.
John P. Gallagher III.
Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
So help me God, yes.
Let us know what you're looking to do here.
Retain my shed.
All right, so, trying to remember this one. Oh, it's the metal shed?
Yes.
Looks like it's been there for a while.
Yes, prior to me purchasing the house.
All right, so it never got picked up on title search?
I guess not.
How long have you owned the house for?
11 years.
Wow, never got picked up. I know it looked pretty well fenced and screened with some trees over there.
Yes.
Any complaints from your neighbors? Nobody has an issue with it?
That's not how it came up.
7 foot from one side, and there's a fence on that right side. 3 feet, there's another fence behind.
3 and 7, yes.
Yeah,
Those lots are tight though over there, if I remember right.
yeah, it is. There's no other property you can buy to bring it into conformance?
No.
Okay. I'll look to the board for any questions or comments. Mark?
No questions.
Mike?
No
Bill?
questions.
No questions, thank
No.
you.
No.
All right, any input from the public on this application? I'll look for a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
So
you,
we're
sir.
good.
Nope.
Not yet.
They're gonna vote on it tonight, but you can call me in the morning, or you can wait for the vote, whichever way you
Wait
want to
tomorrow,
do it.
Mike.
That's fine.
Thank you, brother.
Have a good night.
Have a good night. Everyone just open up one of these. There's not much to see.
All right, next application is number 6, Ellen and Lorraine Stetson. State your name for the record, please.
Lorraine Stetson,
Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
yes.
Do me a favor, just turn the microphone down so we can pick you up. There you go. All right, you are looking for a variance of 6.25 feet, and you have 8.75 feet existing. Let us know what you're looking to do here.
The back of the house, there's 2 porches. The upstairs porch has a flat roof. It's heated and insulated. The downstairs porch is a 3-season room. The flat roof has been leaking. We've been chasing it for years. We need a new roof extra sandy, so we're redoing the roof in the back of the house to go over the back porch so that it's not flat roof anymore, and rebuild the porches with 4 feet bigger, 4 feet out.
Okay. This is in the rear, right?
It's the rear of the house, yes.
Mike, it's a 15-foot setback for the rear of the house, but it goes pretty far back.
Side, this
It's
is.
a side
This
variance.
is the side of it.
It's the
The
side of
addition is on the
house.
rear of the house, but it's adjacent to the side yard.
She's staying in the
Doesn't
footprint.
distinguish on the application.
No, just beyond the footprint.
All right, and
4
you're-
feet,
Stand along the line.
Again?
I think you're going 4 feet beyond the footprint, right?
We're going 4 feet beyond on
At the
piers.
line, I didn't mean the footprint, I apologize.
That's
I'm at the line.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah, and you're
Clear.
covering I guess the stairs that are there now are gonna come out and, I think they're concrete, right? Melissa?
They're concrete stairs,
So you're gonna
and
have to chop
this is
those
gonna
out.
come above them. We're gonna
new
take them
ones?
off and put new stairs in.
The ones will be wood or timber or line or something like that, right? You guys redoing the whole facade of the house as well? From the drawings, it looks like.
We're re-siding it right now. We had, when we renovated the house originally 25 years ago, we have wood siding. And as we're getting closer to retirement, we're really realizing that we want to do something maintenance-free.
Yeah, I don't blame
So
it.
while we're redoing the roof, we want to side it.
All right, so you're coming down the same sideline of the existing facade of the house, so you're not encroaching
Exactly.
into the neighbors, so.
It's going to be on piers, so there's no digging in the back
That's right.
or
Footings, okay.
foundation work.
No other property you can purchase to bring it into conformance? All right, Julio?
Julio.
Uh,
Wow. Long Italian.
Ernesto?
I have no questions.
No
I'm
question.
not gonna say any more names, all right?
Questions, thank you.
Ready on the left?
All right, any input from the public on this application? State your name for the record.
Good evening. Nicholas Lupinacci.
Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Let us know what your questions are.
I'm here along with my wife. We live 2 doors away from the Stetsons, and we're here to support their endeavor.
Good
And
neighbor.
we think it'll be good for them and good for the neighborhood.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the drawings, but it looks like a nice design, so.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anybody else have any input or questions? All right, look for a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I didn't get a second.
Second.
All right,
Mark just seconded it over there. I saw him do it. That's fine.
It's Giuliano.
Julia.
Julio Martini. President of the Italian American Club.
all right, so that's,
Party time.
all right, and finally tonight, Lake Plaza Shopping Center. I guess we got a big crew here, huh? Are most of you or all of you going to be speaking?
Most of us will, so if you want to do an en masse,
Yeah, let's do if you can speak, or at least for the record, put everyone's names up. Because it's being recorded, so, for the
yes,
minutes.
while we set up, my name is Geraldine Tortorella. I'm a partner in the law firm of Hockerman, Tortorella, and Weckstein in White Plains, and we're counsel for Lake Plaza Shopping Center, LLC, which is the ground lessee of the Lake Plaza Shopping Center. And I'd like to introduce our team who is here this evening. Some or all of us may be speaking, but we might as well, I'd like to introduce you to all of them so you know who is here. Many of them have provided materials for tonight's submission. The gentleman putting things up is John Canning. He's a professional engineer with VHB, Engineering, Planning, and Surveying. And VHB is our project engineer, civil engineer, and transportation engineering firm that is working on the application. Mr. Canning happens to specialize in transportation engineering, and which I think is relevant to tonight's discussion. We also have Christina Moreau in the blue, and she is with Agnoli Signs. Agnoli Signs is the manufacturer and designer of the signs for the Stop and Shop supermarket, Stop and Shop being the new supermarket that's coming to the center. So she's here this evening to answer any questions that you might have about the design of the signs and lighting and things of that nature. And then we have 2 representatives with us this evening from Heidenberg Properties, who's here on behalf of Lake Plaza Shopping Center LLC, as its representative. We have Robert Heidenberg. I'll step back, and Pablo Maderos. So they're both here this evening, and to the extent that there are any questions that they need to address, one or both of them may also address the questions.
Let me just do this quickly. If you guys don't mind standing up, raising your right hand so I could swear you in. You all swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Okay, just formalities. And I didn't need to swear you in, you're an attorney, so.
Most people tell you I'm the one you better be swearing in.
Objection.
Mr. Lupinacci, I was going to say, it was very nice of you to come this evening to support your neighbor. I hope you're here to support us as well. We are here for two different kinds of variances. Our application this evening is for parking variances and then for sign variances. This is our application. These variances come out of an application for a complete revitalization of the shopping center and a significant renovation of the shopping center, which I will tell you we are very, very excited about. We've been spending months and months in the planning stages before we even made our first submission to the planning board. And the idea is to really spruce up the shopping center and bring something that our client is very excited to have in town, and that the town is excited to have, and that the community is excited to have because of what it will offer. In a minute, Mr. Canning will review with you some of the site plan aspects, because I'd like you to understand the context in which the application arises. But for general purposes, the plan is to demolish the existing supermarket and construct a larger state-of-the-art Stop and Shop supermarket, which will be a new tenant in the shopping center and one that we think will bring a lot of vitality to the shopping center. Our plan is to go and do improvements, shop throughout the entire shopping center, however, not just for the Stop and Shop. So in addition to the new building and constructing another small retail space that is abutting the Stop and Shop, and between the Stop and Shop and the existing smaller retail tenants, we are also doing parking lot improvements, lighting improvements, drainage, stormwater improvements, water and sewer improvements. Our plan is to redo the facades of the smaller retail tenants. We're not changing the Kmart facade. That's because that's not a building that we really control at this point in time. It's their building, so we really are not in a position to change that, but we're doing a lot to upgrade the other facades of the smaller shopping center tenants, all in a position to position ourselves so that at an appropriate time, if the Kmart were to be available to renovate, that may be something that happens in the future, but it's not something that we can control right now. We're looking to, some of those improvements that we're doing are really going to be in the nature of both environmentally friendly in terms of dealing with stormwater issues, and also sustainable, dealing with some of the improvements to the lighting and other aspects and the landscaping improvements that we're proposing. If we can just take a few minutes and give you a little bit of detail about that, and then we can turn to talk to you about the specific variances that we're here for this evening, I'd like to do that, because as I mentioned, I think it's important for you to understand the context in which the application arises. It's not a simple, small renovation of a building and wanting to stick up a wall sign, for a new tenant. There's a lot more involved with it.
I want to say it's a welcome and overdue change, and, this board's job is to make sure that it's not overdone. And, we appreciate the fact that you're putting some money in and making the enhancements here. So I just want to guide the board members that, we still have a job to keep it within the character of the neighborhood and our set of standards that we need to follow.
Understood, and I think a lot of our discussion tonight, I think one category of our variances may be a little easier to discuss than another category of
So
our
I
variances.
wanted to ask you, all right, if you want to do the parking and get that might be simpler, and we'll spend more time on the signs, because that's where I think we're going to.
Right.
I assume that I assume that that's what we would have more discussion on this evening. So I was planning to try to deal with the parking first. So if we just take a couple of minutes, we'll give you the overview of the site plan, we'll go right into the parking, and then we can talk about the signs. Great, thank you. John?
Yep. Thank you, Jerry. Good evening. For the record, John Canning with VHB. I'm a licensed professional engineer with, 25 years' experience in New York State. Thank you.
Get that from the machine out there?
Thank you. So I'm sure you're familiar with the site. Get this. Where's the button on this, Jerry? There we go. So you've got the Kmart down at the south end. You've got a lot of the stores in the middle, and then you have the Key Food at the north end. So the Key Food is there, Kmart is there, and the stores are in between. And the proposal is to take the existing Key Food and demolish it, and demolish the CVS that is next to it, and basically expand out a little bit to the back and expand out a little bit to the north, so that you can construct a new Stop and Shop that will be about 25,000 square foot bigger than the existing Key Food. In addition to that, it is proposed to provide employee parking in the back, and then to expand the parking out to the north a little bit. Additional measures that will be incorporated in this will be the elimination of a slip ramp out of the parking lot that trucks have been known to use to get to Baldwin Lane, so that we will be requiring trucks or making it more difficult for trucks to go out to Baldwin Lane. They'll come out to Route 6. It's also proposed to repave the entire parking lot so that it will be in better condition. And there are certain sections of the parking lot, particularly here, the drive aisle, where it's a bit wavy, I believe, from the old drive-through that used to be there, so we're going to try and smoothen that out. In addition, it's proposed to provide end caps on the parking aisles on both sides to do a couple of things. First of all, it will stop people cutting across the parking lot. Secondly, it'll give you a chance to do some landscaping and make the parking lot a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. And thirdly, it'll reduce our impervious surface. Also, in collaboration with the planning board, they suggested that we do a landscaped island in the middle of the parking lot to stop people cutting down through it. And in addition, we'll be doing some landscaping in the island that leads in and out of the drive aisle to Route 6. And as Jerry mentioned, we'll be doing some lighting improvements. So I think all in all, when this is finished, and I'm going to get to the parking, but I think it'll be a very much appreciated improvement to the site. From the parking perspective, there are 629 parking spaces there now, and I'm sure you've been down there, and good luck finding 200 people parking there. We went out there on Black Friday in 2014 and documented a peak parking demand of 178 parked vehicles, which is a parking ratio of 1.27 parked vehicles per 1,000 square feet. We're proposing, as I said, to add some parking. So when we're done, there'll be 86 more parking spaces for a total of 725. And based on the surveys that we did on Black Friday and projecting and accounting for the new supermarket, it's a new brand in town, it's a bigger supermarket, and it's a newer facility. We did some conservative projections, and we are projecting a peak parking demand of 268 parked vehicles, which is a parking ratio of 1.7 parked vehicles per 1,000.
John, could I just ask you a quick question? Is it 715 or 725? Because in your report, you say 715.
Well, I wrote down 725, and maybe 715. Let me hold. It's 715.
Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah, just because I was looking through it, I was like, that,
it's 715. I typed this out today, so my apologies.
no worries.
As you're aware, your code requires 6 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet. I haven't, read when the code was put together, but I would guess that regulation is probably 30 years old at this stage, and we live in the era of e-shopping, and plenty of people don't even go to the store anymore. So we're requesting a reduction from 6 spaces per 1,000 square feet to 4.2 spaces per 1,000 square feet. And to justify that, I have some handouts to provide evidence in support of the request. Jerry, I'll give you a copy of that.
That was part of the package, wasn't it?
It was not in the package.
Wasn't.
There was a written supplement, but I decided to augment it with information that's readily available either online, or I can provide additional information. So industry standards, the Institute of Transportation Engineers is a professional society of transportation engineers that compiles surveys that we do, and then they categorize them by land use type, and they do parking projections. So they have the 4th edition of their parking generation manual, and on the first page inside the cover is parking surveys, the results of parking surveys for supermarkets. Now this facility is partially a supermarket and partially a shopping center, but you can see the average peak period parking demand on a Saturday for a supermarket is 3.92 parked vehicles per 1,000 square feet. On the next page, you can see for a shopping center on a Friday, not in the high holiday shopping season in December, is 2.94 vehicles per 1,000 square feet. On the next page is a Saturday, non-December, is 2.87 parked vehicles per 1,000 square feet. And on the next page, there's a publication called Shared Parking. It's published by the Urban Land Institute, and they recommend parking rates for various land uses. So if you look at the top of the page on table 2.2, it's community shopping center, 400,000 square feet or less in size. And on the weekend, when there's peak parking demand, they recommend providing 3.2 parking spaces per visitor and 0.8 parking spaces for employees, for a total of 4 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet. So, based on the industry standards and the recommendations and the observations, which are even less than that, and I think based on your observations when you've been to the supermarket, I think you'll feel comfortable that increasing the existing parking complement by 86 vehicles and having a parking ratio of 4.2 per 1,000 square feet will not result in any parking problems or have any detriment to the neighborhood associated with parking, not having enough parking for the supermarket.
And you're factoring in the employee spots that you're putting in the
Absolutely.
back? Okay.
Yes. So that goes to the first variance that we're seeking, is a reduction from 6 to 4.2 on the number of spaces. The second variance that we're requesting is a reduction in the size of the parking spaces. Your code requires that parking spaces be 20 feet long, 10 feet wide, and have a 24-foot drive aisle between the parking spaces. On the next page of the handout I have provided, which is a document called The Dimensions of Parking, also published by the Urban Land Institute. In the 5th edition, down in the bottom left half of the page where I've highlighted it, the 85th percentile, so this basically says that 85% of vehicles on the road since 1999 on are either 6.7 feet wide or less in size, or 17 feet 3 inches or less in size. So they're approximately 3 feet shorter than the code required parking space length, and they're approximately 3 feet narrower than the width of the code required spaces. So that's just the size of most vehicles. There's a little, on the next page, there's a dimension that just shows you the standard size. For the width, the recommended minimum width by the ULI and their dimensions of parking for community retail facilities is 8 foot 9 inches to 9 foot in width. Typically, parking stall width is kind of related to 2 things, turnover and familiarity. So if you go to your office and you drive in there every day, you know the office pretty well, you know the layout of the parking spaces, you get pretty good at it. If you go to a shopping center that you've never been to before, you don't know the lay of the land, so the spaces can be a little more difficult to park in. So if you look at table 7.2, you'll note that low turnover parking spaces for employees typically are even narrower. They're 8 foot 3 inches to 8 foot 6 inches. And then the ULI recommends that you have larger or wider spaces for high turnover, where you have, it could be a doctor's office or community retail as they indicate. And the range there is from 8 foot 9 inches to 9 feet. And we're requesting a reduction of your code from 10 feet to 9 feet. And by the way, the majority of the spaces out there today are pretty much 19 feet by 9 inches. 19 feet by 9 feet, 19 feet long by 9 feet. It's a little funny in the way that they're striped sometimes. The code requirement is 20 feet with a 24-foot aisle and 20 feet, so it's a 64-foot bay. What you've got out there is a 62-foot bay, and it gets restriped every number of years. So one year the guy goes out and he stripes 19-foot spaces with 24-foot median. The next year he goes out and he stripes 18-foot spaces with a 26-foot median. The overall bay width is 62 feet, and that hasn't changed in a number of years. So we're basically requesting that we get to put back what's there.
And that'll be more controllable by the islands that are going to be built. You'll be able to maintain those lines and...
You'll be able to maintain the lines, and you'll have less, when the parking lot is not full, people just deciding they want to make a beeline for the exit and driving across the parking lot, they'll have to go down the travel aisles.
You're also putting one full-length divider in the middle, too.
Correct.
So that's going to stop
That's gonna
it
help
from
cut it down.
from jumping the hole.
Because that never happens in that parking lot.
Excuse me?
That never happens in that parking lot.
There's just no organization, there's nothing guiding you in that parking lot.
Right.
You're just going which way, and
Right.
I think
So
it
we're,
would
we're
help control
really
it.
making an effort to do that, and we want to thank also your partner board at the planning board who've been collaborative with us. So on the last page of the handout is the stall length that's recommended by the ULI. And for perpendicular parking, which is where they have 90 degrees, they recommend that you have a 59-foot, as a minimum, a 59-foot parking block, which is basically two 18-foot parking spaces and a 23-foot parking aisle. Your code says you have to have two 20-foot parking spaces and a 24-foot parking aisle. So we're requesting a reduction in the parking space size, no reduction in the aisle size, a reduction in the parking space length from 20 feet to 19 feet. One minor point, there's a provision in here on the right-hand side of the page, you see overhang, and there's a provision in your code in section 156-42A for what's known as an overhang. Basically, the front of your car, the engine and the bumper stick out a little bit from the wheels. So when you can pull up to the curb, the front of the car can stick over a little bit. So you're allowed to have, under your code, 18-foot deep parking spaces where the vehicle can stick over the curb into a grassy area. So we are proposing to have 17-foot deep spaces here, 17-foot deep spaces here, 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 and here, in compliance with the overhang.
What's the height of the curb? You can stay at 4 inches?
It'll be 4 to 6 inches.
No raised bumper.
So no Maseratis?
No, but Maserati's a little smaller anyway.
I don't think they'd park over there anyway.
Lamborghinis, okay. Tight.
So I submit that the evidence that we have provided supports the case that the number and size of the parking spaces will be more than adequate to safely and efficiently accommodate parking activity at the facility, and as such, the requested variance will have no adverse impact on the health, safety, and welfare of the community, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
This publication, you said, is from the Institute of Transportation Engineers. What's their credibility? I mean, are they sanctioned by
They're a
the
national,
federal government? Or
they're a professional organization, so they're not sanctioned by the federal government. Professionals such as myself organized this organization probably 50, 60 years ago so that we could continue our education programs and build data. So we use this information when we go before the planning board and we're proposing 200,000 square foot shopping center, and they say, well, you know, how many parking spaces are you going to need? So we could say 3 by 200,000, 3 by 200, we need about 600 parking spaces. And then usually we have some sort of negotiation with the planning board, and the planning board says, well, you know, provide an extra 15%.
So you use it as a design standard, more or less?
Absolutely,
And then
absolutely.
you try to do greater than that, which you've pretty much proven
Which
here.
we're doing. That's correct.
Okay. All right, any questions from the board on the parking aspect?
And the number includes the key bank, correct?
Yes, the number does include, all of the numbers include the key bank.
All right, since we're going to kind of segregate this between the parking variances and the signage, I'll ask for any input from the public at this point on the parking only.
I have a question. Are you going to be changing the grading in the parking lot at all? One huge problem I know by the Kmart is runaway carts all the time banging into other cars. And, you know, if there's some way to alleviate the slope of it to prevent that kind of thing from happening.
Right. It's something that we will take under consideration. We had proposed to resurface the Kmart from about this point to the south. And to the extent that the resurfacing, we can smooth over some of the minor grading issues, we were proposing to do that, but we were not proposing to do a wholesale regrading, in part because the south end of the parking lot and this portion of the parking lot are within the 100-foot buffer of a wetland, so that would cause a disturbance in the buffer, and you know, there would be more regulatory hurdles that we would need to overcome.
And you will have holders for the shopping carts?
Yeah, they're on the map.
Yeah, it
The Stop and
looks
Shop,
like it.
the Stop and Shop will have holders for the shopping carts, yes.
Kmart doesn't, but I don't think Kmart has them, do they?
I don't think Kmart has them, no. The other
Can they
shopping-
put something along the building to hold the carts for Kmart, I think is what you're asking, right?
Well, does Kmart have shopping carts or no? I don't think they do.
Yeah, shopping carts.
They have shopping
Oh, they do?
carts. Yeah,
Yeah,
they have
just have no
shopping
place
carts.
to hold it.
It's a huge problem over there.
Yeah, well, that's why they're flying.
Especially on a windy day.
Yeah.
Those carts just go and they hit other cars all the time.
Yes.
So I want to try and alleviate that issue.
There were some holes.
That'll be a Kmart issue. It's not under
Well,
our-
I mean, it could be I don't know if it's a Key Food issue, because I don't really shop at Key Food.
Problem is, if we
too
make
often.
them put one of those, like they do at some of the other
It's gonna lose
stores,
spots.
Blue spots.
take away parking spots, and then their ratio is actually getting worse and worse as you require it, so.
There will be cart corrals for Stop and Shop. I mean, Stop and Shop has a plan for cart corrals. So there will be an area in the shopping center, a parking lot, for carts to be collected. And then it also does have areas along the front of the store where, carts can be stored. So certainly with respect to the Stop and Shop operations, that's something that's integrated in the design.
Okay. That's all on the parking at this point?
Do you have any other questions on parking, or are there any
Anybody have any other
concerns or
questions?
issues with the
I have
parking?
one question. From the one road, all the way from the south, all the way to the north, so basically from the wetlands to the car wash, is anything planned to remedy speed there from end to end?
At this point, no.
You need to use the microphone, sorry.
I'm sorry. At this point, no. We could certainly, take it back to the team and talk to them, and we do have to go back to the planning board, and that's, I guess, part of their purview is to review site safety issues. So
I mean,
that's
it's kind of, in my experience, it's coming out of Dunkin' Donuts going into that parking lot. It's almost like,
Harold had some discussions at the planning board about requiring everybody that comes through Dunkin' Donuts to make a left, and then when they make the left, they would come out at the same area, I think. I don't know exactly what he was thinking at the time, but there was discussion about that, but
Right.
that has not come up yet at the planning, has not come back up at the planning side.
I know they, at the, where it used to be A&P, what is it now, Acme?
Acme.
They have a long road like that all the way across. They put in some speed bumps, and it definitely has helped, because it's such a long road
Right.
there, and people will just go. So there's just something to consider.
absolutely.
Just makes it more difficult for maintenance though, sometimes. That's the only negative part,
Right.
plowing and collection of the dirt and gravel down there too.
All right, I'm sure they'll pick it up in the planning board.
They've been discussing it, but I don't know what Harold's final outcome was on that.
There hasn't been one. We've been before the planning board twice, and the planning board at the last meeting referred us to your board as well as to the Environmental Conservation Board, so that's how we got to here this evening. We have not been back to the planning board. We were waiting for the planning board to retain an architectural consultant, which it has done. And so we can go back, we hope, in the near future. And one of the issues that we know has been raised that the chairman of the planning board in particular is concerned about is what is happening with the interaction of that Dunkin' Donuts driveway. So that issue is on the table, and it's not that we've been ignoring it, we just haven't been back to the planning board.
Okay.
And haven't been able to go for any meaningful discussion. And they have a long enough agenda, they don't really need to see us for nothing, so. But we'll hopefully be going back to them soon. And that is something that they identified.
But
Thank you.
they didn't go to the island.
All right, let's move on to the signage.
Okay.
They pulled the-
There are different kinds of sign variances that we are seeking this evening. And I want to start first with, if I can, the one having to do with tenant spaces 2 through 11. Those are the smaller tenant spaces. Those spaces will all have, do now, and will, on the renovation, all have a wall sign. And they have a maximum square footage that they can have for their wall sign that's on the front of the building. We want to introduce what we call under canopy signs, which are shown here in this diagram. And basically, for those, it's for the smaller tenants, they would be signs that hang down from the canopy or protrude out from the wall, which have the name of the shop owner. We're proposing they're going to be 1 by 5 square feet each side, so together cumulatively 10 square feet in size. Your code only allows one sign per establishment per street frontage. So our request is to allow a second sign for each of those tenant spaces, 2 through 11. That would be a maximum of 10 square feet. And that's the variance that we seek for those tenants. We think it adds, it's a way, it serves a wayfinding purpose when you're walking underneath the sidewalk, but it's also, we think, adds some character and some cachet to the shopping center, and actually gives it a nice, homey feeling and a nice traditional feel to that area. We've seen it done nicely in some other shopping centers. And one of the things we're trying to do with this whole revitalization of the shopping center is look at it as a package deal and deal with signage, not just with Stop and Shop as a new building, but overall, and trying to upgrade the signage throughout the center. So that's the first sign variance that we're seeking.
So I'm sorry, you said it was 10 square feet?
10 square feet,
sign?
1 foot by 5 feet long.
Two-sided.
And it's 2 sides.
And that'll
So-
be illuminated, or is that?
Nope, not illuminated,
Hang on, okay.
not
Similar to the Putnam Plaza. I don't know if you've been to Putnam
Yeah,
Plaza.
Putnam
lately.
Plaza's got it underneath.
They have them underneath the canopy that just, if you're walking under, you don't have to look out to see what's there. You can
Right,
see it
right.
from the,
Are you addressing the signs in the exterior? Because.
yes.
Well, we are, they will all, the subtenant, the small tenant signs will all be of a uniform character and will conform. Right now, the plan is to have them all conform in size to what's allowed in the code, but to introduce a more uniform character to it. We haven't gotten there yet. That's part of our discussion we expect to occur with the architectural consultant and the planning board as they serve that kind of architectural review
Yeah, because
function as well.
When the Architectural Review Board existed, there was a plan out there for that, to get all those signs at least more consistent. And I know that there's some signs that we're concerned about on that property. I'm looking. So, yeah, it would be nice if they had a better, tighter look and feel. That would be my main concern. Because you're doing all this cleanup work, let's do it right.
That's our concern and our desire as well.
Okay.
It's like redoing the whole house and then leaving the windows. We want to do the whole center is going to look like a brand-new center, for the majority of it. We have the end anchor.
Is there any additional
That's different.
facade work planned with the rest of the stores? or is-
Substantial additional facade work. We are looking to renovate the facade of all of the small tenants. And that is one of the things that we haven't been able to advance yet with the planning board because it was interviewing and waiting to retain an architectural consultant to work with it. That has occurred, and we've been successful in sending him all of our information, so we're very excited about having a heart-to-heart discussion with them. I mean, they've seen the planning board has seen the proposed Stop and Shop facade. They have seen a design that our architects had for the renovation of the facade, and we've gotten various comments and, no uniform direction yet. And so we're really ready to roll up our sleeves and
So
have a
you're
work
working with the
session.
planning board and the consultant to
We are.
get to an end game there?
We are.
They hired
And-
Vincent Franz to be their consultant. And and he's, was it last night? Yeah, last night was his first meeting. He came to the board, and he's looking forward to working with everybody, too, so.
Okay. I mean, I know the Architectural Review Board was disbanded, but I don't know where those responsibilities have.
Planning board.
Planning.
For the planning board,
Yeah,
or for us to
it's
have some
planning.
input, but.
Fully, expressly with the planning board now, not just kind of by default.
And let's concentrate our efforts on the variances in front of us.
I mean, so the under, what, the.
Canopy.
Under canopy signs, none of these signs have been looked at by the planning board as part of the site plan process. I understand we're here to approve variances for the signs, but have they weighed in on whether they like these or they don't like these? Any sort of recommendation from the planning board as far as the variances are concerned?
The planning board has seen all of these signs, and the planning board saw the under canopy, and I think there was a general consensus that it's a nice treatment, as long as it's, we're not talking
properly.
about some massive sign or one that would interfere with.
I think it helps bring in a safety element. Like Mike said, you're not reaching out into the drive lane to see what store you're walking at. You can actually see it where you're at, a protected, covered walkway.
Maybe that'll help keep some of the signs off the glass
Right.
that people are trying to get more, you know what I mean? That'll help
Right.
people find the stores that they're looking for.
I have just because after all these years, I'm still not smart on this board yet. Is it one sign or two underneath? Because there's wording on both sides.
It is one two-sided sign, so they're being charged for both square footages, but it's one sign.
Okay.
Just like a freestanding sign is one sign.
Yep.
But 16 square feet per side is
Right, so the
32.
math adds up, but it's one sign.
That's correct, one
Got
sign.
it.
Do I understand this correctly? So you're going to have a sign out on the street with the listing of everybody, then you're going to have a sign under the canopy, and then you're also going to have a sign on the outside of the building?
That's correct. So the monument sign is the one out at the street.
Right.
And then we have, which you find with many shopping centers, and then what we call the wall sign that's on the exterior of the building that announces the name of the tenant and the business, and then the under canopy sign, which is not visible from the parking lot. It's visible only as you walk underneath the canopy along the sidewalk. So it's perpendicular to the building.
Yeah, it's for pedestrian traffic going from Stop and Shop to Kmart if they're doing that.
It is. It adds character to it. It has a certain, if it's done right, it has a certain quaint element to it as well, which is part of what we want to recreate in this, along that walkway.
How many tenants are we talking about?
We have, well, currently there are
Times New Roman.
10? Is it 10? Yeah, 12? Oh, it's 12. Currently, there's 12 smaller tenants.
Spaces.
Oh, total, we're talking about, I understood your question to be of the small tenants. Are you talking about small tenants or, 10 of the small tenants and then 2 anchors, so a total of 12 currently.
And then a new proposed tenant was half of the CVS. They're leaving. I don't know what they're gonna get, right?
So if you have these canopies, is there going to be a complete coverage in the rain if you go from store to store? Or is it just going to be a single canopy, and then the next store has another canopy?
It's it's going to depend on the ultimate approval of the architectural renovations. But the canopy, as my understanding is it's a continuous canopy along the frontage of the smaller tenants. Obviously, it's not going to be in front of Stop and Shop, and it's not in front of Kmart.
And Jerry, it currently exists.
Oh, there's currently a canopy there.
Yeah, there is a canopy.
It's a walkway, it's a covered walkway. It's a covered walkway, so.
Sam, you
you're
said the sign,
looking-
I'm sorry, John, go ahead.
You're looking for an additional variance for the signage per store? I don't know how that breaks down.
Yes, so we are looking for kind of a blanket variance that would allow each of the smaller tenants or the non-anchor tenants to have an under canopy sign of up to 10 square feet.
Not electric, not lit, just a sign that you can see as you're walking under.
But right now, what does exist for each store? Or is each store, like, are they bigger than what the 40 square foot allow, you know what I mean?
That would be in addition to the 40. They're going to put 40 on the building.
Right.
And then underneath, they're going to put one more 10-square-foot sign, if I remember correctly. I think
That's
those are
correct.
the numbers.
So then you're looking for that percentage variance over.
Well, I guess there are 2 ways to look at it.
One additional 10-square-foot sign
One additional 10 square foot sign.
per establishment, except for the anchors.
Okay.
Yeah, John, the way they've asked for it, at least in the application, it seems to be, they're just looking for the presence of the sign, not the size of the sign.
Well, we're prepared to have you limit it to the size. I mean, we've given you a design, and we don't want anybody to think that you give us a second sign and we're gonna go put a second 40 square
You're
foot
gonna
sign. That's
design
not our
to those
intention.
parameters.
Right. So that's why we crafted it that way. It really is intended to be just an under canopy sign. You have limitations in your code as to how far down that can project or how far into the walkway. We need a certain clearance from beneath the bottom of the sign to the walkway. So we meet that clearance, and that would be a building code and zoning ordinance requirement anyway. We're not seeking to vary that, and we wouldn't be able to anyway.
I guess here's my concern, and maybe I didn't put it well enough before, but what if the planning board doesn't want these under canopy signs? There would be no need for that variance then, correct? So, I mean, I have a problem granting a blanket variance because that runs with the land. If there's no need for the variance because the planning board doesn't want that improvement, whatever it might be,
But
why
this-
grant them the variance?
This map was at the planning board, and I'm not making their case, but this was in front of the board, and they were made aware of these signs. I'm not saying that they gave a positive or negative, they
That's
did
what
not
yeah.
give either, because they
still have-
can't, because it's not approvable by them unless you say it's okay.
Joe, we can condition it based on what,
On final site plan approval.
Okay.
Okay.
And the individual signs for each store that are going to be above the canopy, are they all going to be a consistent size and color?
They're gonna be below the canopy. They're either, right now we have them showing projecting from the building.
These are the outside
Oh, the
signs.
outside sign? Oh, no, the
The outside.
outside signs are, they will not dip below the canopy. They will be on the face of the wall.
And they're all going to be a consistent color and size?
We haven't completed that yet. Our goal is to have uniformity, but many tenants, depending on what tenants you have their colors, have their design. And so we are gonna have to reach a compromise as to what will work both aesthetically on the center and then operationally and from a business point of view with prospective tenants.
So they'll have to come back to us again when they decide what they're doing?
No, if their signs conform in size, they don't need to come to the zoning board of appeals. Now, this is all something that I think the planning board, is going to be reviewed by the planning board as part of its architectural review of our site plan. In addition to figuring out that the site works properly and our site improvements work properly, the planning board's going to be looking at the architectural design and then the materials, and we'll be looking at the signage, all as a package under the, wearing their hat as architectural review board.
So the planning board will be responsible for that?
That's
Yes.
correct. The only way they would come back here is if the board, and I'm using an example, if the planning board said you have to do a red Starbucks, just say, because they're green, and somebody says, well, I don't want to do that, so could come here and challenge the decision of that board.
Right.
That's the way
Or
that
the
it,
sign exceeds what
of
we
course,
allow?
that's,
Okay,
we're talking
clearly.
colors, you were saying color-wise.
Yeah, but size too.
Yeah, size is going to propose 40 on every one of them on the plat.
Our intention is to have those conforming size unless we have a unique situation where we need a larger sign. And that might occur if multiple small tenant spaces were conjoined and it's larger than what currently exists. Instead of being a 20 linear foot frontage, maybe it'll be a 40 linear foot frontage. And there's a maximum limit on 40 square feet on wall sign anyway, and maybe it would justify a larger sign. I mean, those are the kind of circumstances that might arise that would lead us to come back and seek a variance. But right now, the intention is to have complying size signs because we don't have a situation right now where we can't come into compliance with that limitation. Yeah. So that's, I guess, the easy side. The next variance, if we can, why don't we, if you don't mind, I'll refer to the elevation. I'll at least have the sizes on them, but.
We can't see those.
That's for the couch, it's the same
This one,
board.
or you want the next one?
No, he was just asking what the other board is, that's for the couch.
Start with that one.
So, with respect to the Stop and Shop signs, we need a couple of different types of variances for those. We need a variance for the number of Stop and Shop signs. Again, you have a limit of 1 per street frontage. And on this facade, the Stop and Shop signs are considered the Stop and Shop sign with the Fruit Bowl logo, the pharmacy sign, the Peapod sign, the Fast Care sign, and then the signage that is on these Peapod delivery lockers. Are you familiar with the Peapod operation?
Ask you, I know what the delivery
For the home
operation
delivery,
is,
I know
but
there was a locker thing.
Similar program, except that you can pick up at the store as opposed to calling and having it delivered to your home. So Peapod has both services available, which is offered by a number of different supermarket retailers. You call, you put in your order, you select a time that you want to pick it up, you give a window, and then you come and your order is put into the locker at an appropriate time for when you want to do pickup. And then there is an employee who works for Stop and Shop who will come out and actually load the groceries from the locker into your car for you. So it's a very quick, and you pay online, so that there's not a transaction that occurs. All your discounts are obtained when you pay. If you have coupons, you have your coupons applied at the time you pay. So it's really just a matter of arriving to the center, and we have some designated parking spots close to these lockers where people can pull in and be able to obtain and have the product moved from the lockers into their cars. The lockers are just lockers. They're not refrigeration units or anything of that nature. Things that have to be refrigerated are put into specialized refrigeration bins or totes. So those are really just lockers. They're along the front of the building, and they have the signage that indicates, it's mainly advertised as Peapod and promotes the Nature's Promise brand of Stop and Shop. That's its organic brand. So those are all Stop and Shop signs.
The whole locker is considered a sign?
The sign on the locker is.
Okay, I mean, it's hard to see from here, but that whole rectangular shape that's duplicated, basically, I'm assuming is 2 lockers side by side?
It's multiple. I think it may be 3 or 4.
Okay. Is there a need to have as much signage? I would think that once customers start using the service, they may identify, if they're using that service, they know where to go. Do we need to have it so extravagant?
Right.
Can you just put a logo on there, the Peapod logo?
Can we
maybe?
minimize it to a smaller quadrant of each locker, all right? Make the sign the same elements that you need to have on there, but bring it into a smaller corner.
And
Don't
not
have the whole facade being flooded with the sign.
And not duplicated either.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
redundant.
it is redundant.
You don't like it?
Could you
Signs
also
have-
put it on
signs
the
have always
side?
been touchy.
Well, and I was just going to point that out to you, so, excuse me, I didn't mean to speak so closely. So this is the front of the Peapod locker right here, and then this side of the building is the side that faces Baldwin Lane, and there is a section of signage on the side of the locker. So that's this section here appears on the side of the locker. And then the Peapod parking spaces are, you can't see the parking lot right here, but they're in this general vicinity on that part of the building.
The lockers can't go on the side, so it's not as obvious, and just have the pickup sign in the front?
There's no
We
room.
tried, there's not enough
Tried.
room.
Planning board tried that too.
Oh, did they?
There was no room to move it because of the aisles they're required to have adjacent to their parking.
We looked at that too, even beforehand.
It was very important that they keep the buffer between Baldwin Lane and the side of the building. They wanted to keep that big vegetated buffer.
Right.
Well,
This
there's
is
a couple
residential
houses on
road.
that side of the
That's
street.
correct. So they actually, and I think you're improving that buffer also, correct?
We are, and we're going through the process. I mean, that's a work in process now because we're before the DEP. So that's, nothing's set in stone yet. Our goal is to maintain as much of that buffer as we can, but we have a few masters that we have to serve in the approval process. So we're working through that with DEP. But the point I think Mr. Canazzo was trying to make is everything we add to the side of that building pushes development towards Baldwin Lane. So it's not that we're right at Baldwin Lane, but every little bit incremental increase along this side of the building pushes us closer to Baldwin Lane. And we've been working very hard to make sure that the truck access along that side works and does in such a way that it is efficient, but it directs trucks to where they should be driving in the shopping center parking lot and keeps it away from Baldwin Lane. That was a significant concern of the planning boards and one of ours.
Just getting back to the signs, I mean, the planning board's already gearing, they have their reasons. But for me, my mind, I think it's a little too much. So what can we negotiate down to? I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, I mean, do you guys agree, or is there anything that can?
Yeah, I thought so too. You know, I look at the Stop and Shop that's in Somers, and the signage, the Starbucks is underneath the Stop and Shop, and it's much smaller, and there's only, I think, 3 signs there. So, I think we could play with this a little bit, because I think it's a little large. One board member, but that's the way I feel about it.
On the left side of the building, there's actually 3 signs that say Peapod all on one end. And I just don't see how that's necessary, especially because two of them are exactly the same, they're side by side, it's just a redundant billboard at that point,
So you mean here,
right there.
here, and there?
And then right above, you have Peapod.
Right.
There's no reason why, I mean, I know branding and all that, but Peapod pickup, that's all you really need there. You don't really need pictures of groceries, you don't need anything else. People are gonna find out what Peapod is all about, and they're gonna go there, and they'll pick up. And that's really all you need, and the lockers probably don't even need a sign on it if you have a Peapod sign right above it. I just don't see why you would need that.
The
Peapod pickup
signage,
is
I'm
fine.
sorry.
That Peapod pickup here is probably enough.
Right.
Yeah,
But
for
if they
that
wanna
side.
but if they wanna put a Peapod up higher, I understand that, but they
Right.
could do Peapod pickup right on the wall, and that would be it.
The problem with the Starbucks and the other bank, I think is the other one, they're
The
separate.
bank.
The
They're
bank.
separate establishments within the building.
So here's
So they
Starbucks.
sublet,
Okay, so
Yeah.
each establishment is entitled to a sign, just so you know, that's why it's not here. Each establishment is entitled, and they are separate establishments, so that's why they're entitled to that signage on the building there.
It's fine, but
I'm just
I
looking
think
at Peapod.
Peapod we discussed this,
within Stop
Peapod
and
is
Shop.
Stop and Shop, the other one is, I mean, everything else that is, I'm just telling you, the reason that you don't see Starbucks and the bank is because they are separate establishments, so if you're adding things up, they don't count towards the total, as long as you're under 40 square feet each.
And they are,
Yes, no, I'm-
yeah. Can you give me some sense of what what you would be able to handle? I mean, it's, part of the idea with the signage, I'm just telling you the idea, you may not agree with the approach or the idea, but part of the idea is, you break up a little bit of the facade over in this area as well. And we are really doing nothing with signage on this side of the building along Baldwin.
It's just
there's no
so-
need for it, because you're not gonna see it from any roadway.
It's excessive. Just that one small sign pickup here is enough in my eyes.
Which one are you referring to this?
Yes,
So-
that's all you need.
So
That's on
one
the side.
panel, one panel like that?
Yep.
What they're saying is that is only on this side.
So is
Had to
each,
put it
each
on
one
the
of
front.
those
They could do it in front.
4 quadrants, you got Peapod, the grocery bag, Peapod, the grocery bag, there's 2 doors per?
That's totally.
Yes,
Is that what I'm seeing?
yes.
So, I mean, even if you made a smaller insignia in the left-hand corner of one door, I think would be enough, if that's what you're trying to identify, but.
To separate each door.
Because you have Peapod already on the facade itself.
right.
So, I mean, the way to deal with this is, I guess, a one-by-one situation. I mean, do you guys agree? Do we have like a consensus here? Yeah. For the most part? So, I think we need to talk about how to handle that.
Okay.
And determine that, so we can move forward.
Okay, and so if I understand you correctly, because I just want to make sure that I understand correctly, your view is that a sign of this style on one door along this frontage is something that the board,
Well, pickup
Would be
here is
comfortable
on which side of that whole elevation?
That's on the side.
this is on the side, right
Side,
here.
on the Baldwin Lane side?
Yes, it's on the Baldwin Lane
All
side.
right, I think that would be needed so people know to actually pick up there. The rest of the signs along the whole front is, I don't want to say obnoxious, but I think it's overdone. And the fact that you're having a facade sign above it, which looks much nicer, it's three-dimensional, I'm sure it's going to be lit or backlit, I think already identifies to your customers, look, this is where you go and pick up. And again, they'll know, once they go the first time or they go online, I'm sure there'll be some kind of direction of where the pickup is as well. So, I think if we did away with that signage along the front,
All of that.
fair.
Yeah, because then I have no problem keeping that.
more?
Right.
Four more
That's-
signs?
That's all signage, I mean, including the image,
Considered
right, the
4, is that
basket.
considered one giant redundant?
That's one big sign.
Yeah,
one
it's
sign.
One giant
Well,
redundant.
This is one sign. I think you treated this as one sign.
That's correct.
This is a sign. These are, I'm just referring to what's in the Stop and Shop column of signs. This is a sign, this is a sign, and this is a sign.
But like Mike said, those other signs are for the anchored or the subtenants.
Yeah, so the bank, and again, the bank and Starbucks are in conformity, so that's why they're not here.
Bank and Starbucks don't count towards your sign total.
What about from a size standpoint? Are they,
They're entitled to 40 for each establishment.
Mike,
yeah, that's what I was asking.
Can I clarify? I think the way you counted these signs, because there's 7 signs that are indicated as being Stop and Shop signs, I think we counted, this is 1 sign, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm sorry, I already counted that, 5, 6, 7.
What about the side?
No, you didn't count the side?
Fast Care is a clinic,
Pharmacy.
medical clinic? Which is? But you're considering it part of Stop and Shop?
It is Stop and Shop. All right, so 1, 2.
7 is a side.
7.
I think that's how you counted them.
Yes, that's that. So yes, that's a 7.
Yep. So this is 1 sign, this is a separate sign. So it's text and graphic, text and graphic.
Are you counting this one? 'Cause it's-
I think you're hearing most of the board members feeling that it's redundant and much.
So nothing on the front of the locker and just on the side here. Okay. So I hear you. Can we go on and talk about the other?
Just keep in mind, the pickup sign, I think, is still needed for your customers and for
So you know where to
directions of
go.
the public. But the Peapod sign that's on the facade above that whole storage area, I think is enough to identify.
Okay, but then there won't be any pickup here. There's no pickup underneath Peapod.
Just pick up on the side. and
pick up
that's where
just
you're
on the
directing
side.
your customers to
Right.
pick up.
Right.
And that's where the parking is, right?
And that's probably the safest corner, right, for,
That's where we're trying to direct the parking to work there.
So if
Yeah,
you put
'cause
it on
you're
the
then-
side,
that's
they'll know
parking.
where to go, and that way, there's no one parking in front and pulling up.
Can't
and-
blame me for trying.
Every application has chaff. We get it.
Okay, so I hear you.
Thank you.
So we're down to 6 signs, I
Now
believe
we're
is
down to
what you said.
6 so far.
No, 5.
5, yeah.
So we're down to, it would be, were you to approve that, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4,
And 1 on the side.
5. Yeah, I counted this side.
Counted the one
1,
on the side.
2,
That's right. I keep doing
3,
that twice.
4,
I'm sorry,
5.
guys.
Yeah, 5.
I keep doing that twice
Yeah,
because it's
I-
here
I'm
and
doing
there,
the
and I
same
don't
thing.
mean to do that.
Does it change your mind if I tell you that these lockers are that eggplant purple? No?
Prettier than that.
4. Now you
You
get
weren't supposed
4.
to say that, Mr. Aguilar. Okay, so that's number of signs. Okay, so that's one of the categories of sign variances that are required for the Stop and Shop signs. And the other is size. Size with respect to, well, size was going to be with respect to the locker signs, but I guess we took care of that one. And then size with respect to the Stop and Shop wall sign. Because of the way your code is written, to measure the size of the sign, we have to draw a rectangle around the sign at its outermost edges, if you will. So we've got a sign that has capital letters in it and then lowercase letters that drop below the line with the P. So you end up having to draw a rectangle around the entire sign this way, which leads us to a calculation of a little over 400 square feet for the Stop and Shop wall sign. If we were to look at that, I recognize the number sounds like a very large number, but it doesn't really fairly represent the mass of the sign or the size of the sign in relation to the facade. This is a building that's 255 feet long. We are proposing a wall sign only on the Route 6 frontage. We're not proposing any wall signs on the Baldwin Lane frontage. That was something that the planning board was very concerned about and we talked about in our meetings with the planning board. And I think they appreciated that, and I'm assuming that the neighbors will appreciate that as well.
The pickup sign will be there, though.
Right, but that's.
Not lit.
Right, that's not lit. And I don't think that that will be that visible from Baldwin Lane, given the distance. Now, we have a building that is hundreds of feet. John, do you know the setback of the building from Route 6?
Oh, God.
You can even skip. We're talking about hundreds of feet of a setback, and we're talking about it at a lower elevation than the road of Route 6.
Do you have it?
Sorry, I should ask you that before.
On this one?
Yeah, maybe.
Does anyone need a protractor? Yeah. Do you want to use this?
It's at least from Route 6. And if you recall, these spaces here all contain stores. We heard someone mention the Dunkin' Donuts earlier, and you have... Right. Oh, you got 360? So it's a 360-foot setback, and you are at a higher elevation along Route 6 than in the center itself. So we're talking about a sign that you're looking down at, and that is quite a distance away. We're also talking about a sign that, if you were to actually measure, I'll leave it right here, actually measure just the mass of the sign, you know, what I would call the fill area of the sign, how much there actually is in print in the sign, it totals under 160 square feet.
The actual square footage of the lettering and the image.
Yes, the actual square footage is the lettering and the image. Over 240, almost 241 square feet is that blank space. Now,
Just a quick question, what's the makeup of the sign? Is it like a box, like a 4-inch thick depth, internal lit, that's on standoffs, or is it, maybe you can
Internally
elaborate?
lit.
It's 5 inches, do you have to come?
How's it go, Norman?
Just remind me who you are, too, please.
Christina Morrow from Magnoli Sign Company.
Thank you.
It is 5 inches deep, and they stand off of the wall about an inch. Sometimes they do them flat, I mean, if that's required.
And that wall is some kind of stucco or masonry? I mean, it looks like there's some striations, but just to get an idea of what kind of shadowing.
The wall here, it's usually drive-it. I'm not sure, this is an
So
architectural wood.
that's not designed yet, that's part of
No, yeah.
that consultant.
No, it is designed, and it's actually wood slats.
Okay,
So
that's
it
kind
breaks
of what I
up
was
some of
thinking.
some of the glare in there, and it's a building that's built for sustainability. A lot of the design, all of what Stop and Shop does now is build for less cost maintenance and longer-term sustainability. And so it will be using a number of different types of sustainable materials, and they've incorporated into the design different features that will conserve on or protect excess heat from coming into the building. So we have a lot of light in the building, but we also have some blocking with those wood slats.
Okay, so the sign will be internal lit,
It's internally lit
5 inches
with
thick? or
LEDs,
depth?
yep.
And what are the standoffs?
It's about an inch.
So there's gonna be some shadowing and,
You won't get any
Mention that.
shadowing. It's face lit,
okay.
so you won't get any shadow behind there.
And it's only the letters in the bowl, nothing else?
Only
is
the
lit up.
letter, it's an individual letter. It's an individual channel letter.
Okay.
Each piece of the bowl it's a separate piece, each one.
Okay.
And they have the
And
energy.
the other
efficient-
signs, just while you're up here, are the same makeup? Okay.
They're all individual letters. And they all have LEDs in them, which are the energy efficient.
Making it green and
Yep,
LEED certified.
yep. Green.
That's today's world.
Yep.
That's a very significant undertaking and endeavor of Stop and Shop's now. It really is important in its design model, and actually something very important that it made sure it could do in this particular center, as well as all
Are
of
they
its
going for a
Easter.
LEED certification?
You know, I don't know what level of LEED certification is going to depend. There are a lot of things with LEED certification that aren't realized. You make a commitment about LEED certification. There's an interest in getting some level of LEED certification. We don't know that you can get the top level, because it has to do with commuters and number of people who can travel other than by cars, and that's not the easiest thing to do when you go to a supermarket.
Okay.
But I guess those people,
Mass
if,
transit.
I guess they could use Peapod and have it delivered to their house, but that's it. So the Stop and Shop signs that were, yeah, the Stop and Shop signs that we're talking about seeking the variances for are, the wall sign is the only one that exceeds the square footage that's allowed under your code. Each of the other ones conforms with your square footage. It's just an additional sign that Stop and Shop isn't allowed to have because you have a limit on one per street frontage. So we could have 2 signs, and then the other ones, the other 3, we would need a variance for, based on number of signs, not on size. The only size variance we need is for the wall sign.
Do we have an understanding of the hours of illumination of these signs?
They're actually, Christine, do you want to?
Microphone, please.
Give you some exercise.
Their signs are generally shut off when the store shuts off. They're on an energy management system. So if they open at 6 in the morning, they open the sign at 6. If they close at 12, they close the sign at 12. They only run the sign during open hours. And I'm not sure what the hours are at that store, but they vary.
Getting back to the Peapod pickup, so is there a parking spot, or is it just a drive-through kind of thing where you have temporary parking for?
There'll be a few spaces.
Peapod pickup spaces.
So in referring to the site plan, this is the Stop and Shop, and this is the side. These spaces in this area are intended to be the Peapod side. The Peapod pickup spaces, right here. And the idea is that they won't, they'll be signed for Peapod pickup. You may have seen that on the site plan, but
it's-
nothing elaborate. It's a directional sign.
But it's possible that somebody could just say, I'm going to park in there and spend an hour in the store. There's nothing to prevent them from.
That's an enforcement thing on Stop and Shop.
Yeah, there isn't, and I think that, I think both the town and the applicant would frown on trying to reserve those because it's difficult and it actually makes a less efficient use of parking if we start to try to reserve certain spaces for only certain purposes. They have had the pickup process for many, many years, and they have not had a situation where it's really been a problem. They've done it different ways. They used to have a canopy, and you used to drive up under the canopy, and they'd have the person bring it out. They've done away with that. They find that it's in, park, get your things, and out. It's a very, very quick process, and that's what the customer wants. So.
Okay, so we're down from 6 signs provided, or now down from 7 to 6.
5.
5, right.
Unless you want to give me one back, I'm sure Stop and Shop would love just one on the lockers.
Need an extra fruit bowl.
Is it possible just one? A fruit bowl on the locker?
So just getting back to your point about the square footage of the Stop and Shop sign, again, there's a lot, it's calculated by making a border around the whole image.
So this is one of the sheets that's in the submission, and here is the rectangle. So you have to make sure you include the top of the fruit bowl logo, go around and come all the way down to pick up the bottom of the P on Stop and Shop.
Let me ask you this, can you minimize, it looks like the fruit bowl is what's giving you more needed square footage because it's raising that border higher. Can you make that image smaller to minimize this?
You know, I mean,
She's
can you
shaking her
can
head
always
no.
do everything. Well, the problem is this is all about proportion. And that's part of the design. And the signage it's informational, it's directional, it's advertisement, and it's branding. And then there's an aesthetic element to it as well. And so the desire is to have that in proportion to the text of Stop and Shop. I mean, that's really the design that they have arrived at over the years. And these signs actually, this facade of signage, I know there was reference to the Somers Stop and Shop. There are many fewer signs on this facade than you see on the old sign package that Stop and Shop used to have, where it had flavorful meat and fresh produce and pharmacy and bank and,
Starbucks. Oh, no, Starbucks is separate.
well,
remember?
used to be Dunkin' Donuts. They have,
Trying to
low
get it down to
prices,
4.
great food, fresh produce, natural foods, flavorful meat. I mean, they used to have all of those signs in
My
there.
point is, why that size? I mean, you could still identify with, if we brought the whole proportion down, that it's still on the facade, it's gonna be lit at night. What can we do to minimize the size of the Stop and Shop sign?
I guess,
I mean, it's.
You know, our view of it
Look
is-
at that whole rectangular element of wood, I guess, what is planned to be the facade.
right.
That whole section, I mean, I think this sign could be brought down to a more smaller size that you'll still see. People will still identify with it.
It's hard for me to tell from here, but is the fruit bowl taller
Well, that's
than
the
the
point I was
S?
just making
Yes.
before,
fruit
too.
bowl
Yes.
is the top of the
Fruit-
S-mark.
The fruit bowl is taller than the
If you
S.
can't raise or lower the fruit bowl to be smaller than the wording, then reduce the whole image.
You want to
And I
reduce?
get the branding, you're still gonna have the colors, you're still gonna have your fruit bowl, but let's make this thing smaller. I mean, we're looking at 360.2 square feet compared to 40.
reduce
And
it
even
by
if we,
20%.
and even if we say the 160, which you argued before, it's still substantial, large.
Right.
No, I recognize that, but we're also, I don't want to lose track of the fact that we've got a 255 linear foot long building. I mean, if we were to break this up into separate retail tenants, each one being at least 20 linear feet, each one of those would be allowed 40 square feet. You could break it up into 12. I mean, 12 individual tenant sizes. That would exceed what we're proposing here. I mean, we're just taking all of the signage potential for the front of this building and aggregating it into one location and leaving it off of the side.
What does Food Town have now? What do they approve that?
Food Town?
Key Food, sorry. You know offhand, Mike?
Yeah, but that's a much smaller.
You don't have that variance list that you have.
I
do
know.
you?
I do know what it is. It's about 92 to 95 square feet. But you don't want us to have a sign like
My
that.
point is too, this isn't a newspaper, it's in the Mayapack News. People know this is, and hoping that it's coming. I mean, there's some people against it, but people are gonna know it's coming, they're gonna know it's there. The sign's gonna identify whether it's the size it is now or a third smaller. I mean, I'm throwing some numbers out there, but this is a pretty big variance. And we have to minimize, or grant the variance minimal within certain guidelines.
Right, I guess my question is, but you have to do that in the course of doing a balancing test. So if you talk about what the impact is, you know, the benefit, I think, is clear. I mean, there's a huge investment going into the reconstruction and revitalization of the center. And in order to draw valuable tenants to centers, you know, tenants don't look just at what their square footage of their spaces and the functionality of the site, but branding and signage is a very important part of what they look at in coming to any location. We've got a sign that, I mean, I understand numerically it sounds large, but if you look at it mass-wise, and if you look at it distance from the road, and if you look at it in relation to the facade, it's not, to me, it's an appropriate proportion and relationship. What's the
But you gotta
adverse
balance
impact?
also that you're adding 4 other signs that you're not normally supposed to have.
And also
So
maybe consistency. of
There's
that
give and take
sign.
on both ends here.
John, just so, for the record, Key Foods is 90. It was in
90?
their
Okay.
application.
Sorry, I thought
You know
it
what
was-
I mean? I mean, I know the store's becoming bigger and probably double the size of what they are now. Still, I don't think you at 180, right? you're going to 400 square feet. So, I don't know, let's table, I don't know what the other board members think, and we'll,
Is there any
Public input
guidance
is
you
gonna
can give me as to what you think would be suitable? I mean, clearly, I think we can agree, 40, your code starts in the right place. It tries to give the size of the sign, it determines the size of the sign based on your linear frontage. It has that proportionality built into it. But then it stops at 40 square feet. I don't think anybody thinks 40 square feet on a 255-foot-long building is appropriate. And I know this board doesn't, because I've read some of your records on your other variance applications. I know, I sense from reading them that you recognize the importance of anchors and you recognize the importance of signage to anchors. Can you give us some guidance as to,
I was thinking a third less, but if it's 400 now, you make it 300 square feet. And I think that would still satisfy and fit well within that rectangular shape of the facade. I mean, you want to be aesthetic as well, but in my architectural opinion, I think that would still get your point across and, you know, minimize the variance that you're looking for.
8.5 now by 46.10.
I will, unfortunately, the representative of Stop and Shop, who is going to be here this evening, had a conflict, so wasn't able to be here. So I do need to go back and speak with Stop and Shop about it. And so I do want to take back a constructive guidance, and I appreciate that, because it'll be important for us to talk to them about that.
Have you had signs that were smaller than this?
This is a whole new design, and both building and sign package. So yes, you will drive elsewhere and see smaller signs than this, Stop and Shop. But what I want to point out is that you'll also see with those smaller Stop and Shop signs, lots of little department signs. If you go over to Somers, you will see flavorful meat, natural foods, fresh bakery, fresh picked produce, welcome pharmacy. So, low prices. I don't think you'd go there if it wasn't flavorful meat, but, so, those are there's a lot more to the sign, and it's a much busier facade.
Can I just read like one of our guidelines for an area variance? Number 2 is, can any other method be used that does not require variance, but still allow for the benefit requested? You still need a variance, but you're still getting the benefit of getting the sign on there. You know what I mean? We have to
I know.
kind of follow this
I know.
and do that weighing test.
I thought the balance was getting rid of the Peapod locker signs. Listen, I think, is it the consensus of the board that 300 square feet would be okay?
That's just me putting it out there.
No,
I
I'm
mean,
just,
I
I'm
mean,
asking.
Because we're going section by section here, so tell me how you guys feel. I mean, let's get a consensus.
I would like to wait to see the way it would look in there, though, just to make sure it's not lost in there, like, because you have to work
Agreed.
that balance, too, so.
Right, I mean,
I think it's a good starting point, but again,
not having a
until I
laptop,
saw
I
it
mean, that would have been
drawn-
smart here
Right.
if we could have redesigned it as we're talking, but.
Right. That's the only thing, that would be the only concern, is like, you don't want to make it too small, because then it looks pointless.
I mean, could you do another rendering, cut it in half? That would give you,
Not
then
that we
you'd be able to
would make that
approximate
happen,
between half and what they're proposing,
Right.
to get an idea. I mean,
I'll lose my job if I come back cut it in half.
it may happen.
Maybe,
Just,
I think, I'm just, there was a discussion over here. I don't have access to the person at Stop and Shop as I stand up here, but I guess they do. And I think Stop and Shop is very willing to consider cutting that down to 300. It would love to have just something to indicate on the front of these lockers, if possible. Just one, even just something on the center one. Just to break up the
Maybe we
facade
should
of that.
hold this over and see if you could rework it, because as it is right now, it's just not.
Okay.
Or it just come with some options.
Yeah, because right now, that's completely unacceptable.
There's
What do you guys think? I mean,
Ma'am,
let's
there's,
table
is there
it,
4 doors across on that thing?
Yeah, it's 4 doors across.
but- It's actually
Center.
8 doors, because there's 4 sections and there's 2 doors each. She said that earlier.
You should probably have-
Double door covers each one of those.
Like a sea
squares.
container.
If we can reach a consensus on the wall sign, we will accept no signage on the front of the lockers.
Like I said, 400 square feet. My mind architecturally, I was thinking a third, but instead a quarter less than what you have there.
Okay. So if, to summarize, it would be
300
a,
square feet.
300
400 square feet is what you're asking for now.
right,
Bring it down to 300 square feet. You could still make it work.
And the Key Food sign was 90, is that what you said?
90. But again, you gotta remember, the store is also smaller because
Right,
they haven't
right.
incorporated CVS.
I always
to
thought the Key
extent.
Food sign was
words are
small.
shorter.
it is.
Yeah,
It's,
Key Food
it's,
is only 7
Yeah,
letters.
it's ridiculous.
7-1.
Key Food
and
is
it-
only
and there's
7
no
letters.
bowl.
and they have, but they have Marketplace, and then they have a logo or something.
And it's a box,
And no
Yes,
fruit
it always is a
It's-
box.
and-
It absolutely is a box.
and it
Makes it-
sometimes hangs at an angle. So,
It's windy.
so, if I understand you correctly, this is what I'd like to understand if the board has a consensus about. A 300-foot Stop and Shop wall sign with the wall signs for pharmacy, Peapod, and Fast Care, which are Stop and Shop signs. No signage on the front of the locker, and just the
Pickup sign
pickup
on the
sign
side.
on the side that faces Baldwin Lane, as shown here.
Correct.
Plus Peapod will be on the facade as well, is that right?
Yeah.
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 The front facade, it has
That's
it
one of
has
the-
it right
okay,
here.
5 or 4
Right, right.
That's right there.
Stop and Shop signs.
And then, it's not before you, but I don't want there to be any confusion. I mean, the Starbucks sign is its own sign, and as long as it conforms with size, it's a separate
We understand
establishment,
that.
as is the bank.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the 5 signs are the main sign, the Peapod sign, the pickup sign, what is it, Fast Care?
Fast Care
Fast Care
and Starbucks.
Pharmacy,
Oh, not Starbucks.
and
pharmacy.
just so we have it all right.
2, 3,
1,
4,
2, 3,
5.
4, 5. Okay.
Oh, that's right. So
That's 5.
Starbucks, what are the other ones that are internal to the store, but their own?
Bank and.
Bank
Starbucks.
and Starbucks.
So, I mean, if you guys all agree to 300 square feet from 400 square feet,
I could remember that.
if you guys are okay with that, we don't have to come back.
Is it now determined that it's definitely a Starbucks? Because you don't want them to specify Starbucks and find out it's Green
Yeah,
Mountain
but we're
or
not gonna
somebody else.
prove that tonight.
They,
right?
it's not part of the application. I mean, I can't say for sure
Oh,
that
that's
it's
true,
always
that's
gonna
true,
be
yeah.
Starbucks, but it's a separate,
That's right.
it is going to be a separate establishment, that I can commit to.
So we're amending that right now?
If they're
If you
amenable
guys
to
are
it.
agreeing to that, or do you want to come back?
Is there a consensus among the board members that that could work?
Kind of just got that, Mike? I mean,
I mean, I would like to see it, but
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind seeing it either.
just to make sure.
I know you guys want to move forward and get back to the planning board too, so just kind of keep that in mind. You guys really.
but this wouldn't prevent.
You don't
them
need
from
to
going forward
rush
with
it because
planning
they do have time to get an submission to the new architect. So you can get that you can move forward with that even though you don't have your variance if you wanted to get something to him. I know we discussed that he did have some of the renderings, but he doesn't know exactly what to look at yet until he knows what the sign's gonna look like. That's the only issue, so it's up to you guys.
So do you guys want to come back next month with some renderings and some ideas, and that'll be more of a visual aid for this board?
Just for the
if you
just for the
require us
front
to.
sign. We could
Just-
vote
yeah,
on
just-
everything
I
else.
think that's
Just
the
for the
only
Stop
thing we're
and Shop
stuck on
sign.
right
Yeah.
now is that Stop and Shop sign.
We'll vote on everything else.
Or we could go
They can't
higher
say
on
no.
that one if we find
Application.
that
They
it's
have to
too small.
You'd have to re-advertise the Stop and Shop.
Oh, I like
You can't segment it.
I can appreciate.
Or
It's part of an application.
If we approve 300 tonight, but then we'll never see him again.
Correct.
I mean, look, no offense, we'd be happy to bring you a sign back. We would just like not to have to come back again, if that's at all possible. Because we are trying to move ahead with the ECB, we are trying to move ahead with the planning board, if that's possible.
I'm gonna read our guidelines and you guys think about that, all right? Number one, will an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties be created by granting of the variance? Two, can any other method be used that does not require a variance but still allow for the benefit requested? Three, is proposed variance substantial? Four, will the proposed variance have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental condition in the neighborhood or district? And five, is the alleged difficulty self-created? So, I think it's fair by going down to 300 square feet, that's my opinion. Down from an extreme of 400 feet, which is
I concur, and I
a
don't need to see
variance
it.
of,
I also think that the sign itself, it's not like bright orange, it's not, it's eggplant purple.
Well, that's their logo,
it's-
but
Yeah,
right.
but it makes it easier for us, I think. It's a little more subdued, it's not flashing, it's not anything, and I could definitely live with 300.
Okay.
Okay.
Should
That-
we,
can you
When
guys?
we put it to a vote, it'll have to be
I'm fine.
it's
No, you do it at the
300
end.
back. I understand. It looks massive on that drawing right there. I think that's the biggest problem that the board had. It is back. Maybe we should get some public input. There are
Yeah, that's
people out
true.
there.
Yeah, let's open up to the floor. We can't vote on it now anyway, so, not till the end, so.
All right, okay. Are you guys done with your presentation? I'm sorry.
We are, unless you have other questions, or of course, we can always step in if you have questions.
absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this point, I'll open it up to the public for questions, opinions.
Comment at a time.
If you could, come on up. Come on up. Just do me a favor, state your name for the record.
Cook.
And let me swear you in. Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I
So help you
do.
God.
I want to know how much parking is going to be added to the back.
It's not necessarily, there's parking back there now. It's not like we're creating new impervious surface or new area. It's just that it's going to be properly striped.
Well, I don't know how many people really park back there though right now.
That's going to be reserved mainly for employees.
Please.
Right, but they're going to have to add lights.
There's lighting that's
Okay.
proposed back there.
Are the lights going to shut off when the store shuts down?
Yeah, the planning board is looking at that issue with lighting back there too.
And also, this store, you don't know what time it's really going to shut down. Some of them are 24 hours.
This is not, it's midnight, I think, was,
Well, for now it might be, but,
Again, that's not
That's
for
not
us.
purview.
That's not for us.
That's
well, the
planning
parking
board.
lot would be, right? The size
Just
of
the
parking lot?
striping.
Just the variances that they're looking for.
Yeah,
the
not the
size,
lighting for it.
Parking lot sizes.
Right, but depending on how big the parking lot is, depends on how many
Make it
lights will be
bigger
there.
and make them blind, don't have to go here.
No.
Not
No?
necessarily.
No,
Light-
because that's on
Lighting's
the
under,
site plan.
It's connected, but it's not for us. It's just a number of spots, whether
Okay.
they're lit or not.
Yeah, that, when they have their hearing in front of the planning board, that's the place to go take that.
And there will be a public hearing at the planning
Yeah,
board.
because I was waiting.
That will happen.
Okay, and I,
They need to get through certain processes before they will have the public hearing, because they have to make sure that it's basically a final map at that point.
okay, now,
We're not close to that yet.
does this have anything to do with you were talking about the side on Baldwin Lane with the evergreens there? Does this have to do with that, the variance for that?
No.
that is something the planning board.
That's the planning board too?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you mean the variance for that, though? I'm sorry.
Well, I'm just wondering if they're gonna take down all those evergreens
They
there.
are not.
Not?
They are not taking down all
But
the
that's a
evergreens.
planning board thing, does
That
that?
is a planning board thing.
Okay, and that's nothing, because I thought that would have to do with the parking also, how much parking spaces you're gonna get.
That does, because they need the space to put the parking, but they showed on the plan
Okay.
that they were leaving that buffer there.
That, I couldn't see it from back there.
That's okay.
Okay, that's it then.
If you want to come up to the office, we can show you the maps and go over it with you, too.
all right, thank you. Anybody else wish to be heard? Okay.
Motion to close.
Second?
Second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay. You guys need to take a break? You want to go through?
Let's go.
All right. We don't have any smokers on the board anymore.
God bless them.
Okay, at this point, there's no public input as we adjudicate. 1 and 2, 1 was dismissed without prejudice, 2 was
Held over.
adjourned. Number 3, Mark Webster, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to grant?
Any
Seconded.
conditions? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, granted. Number 4, Dead Vukaj. I murder it every time, I'm sorry.
Motion to grant.
Second.
Any
Second.
conditions?
Didn't you want- yeah,
Hold
right.
on.
We,
I'm sorry, I apologize. Let me withdraw that motion and rephrase it. The motion to grant the front porch as presented, motion to modify the rear shed so it's a 5x5 setback as opposed to a 2x2.
all right, do I have a second on that?
Second.
And as long as it doesn't
I didn't write it down.
encumber his well.
Provided it doesn't encumber as well. I will amend it.
He's gonna do as good as he can to keep it further away, as long as it doesn't encumber as well. But if he
Exactly.
can't, then he's allowed to go to the 5x5 as well.
5x5, right, that's the minimum.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we talked about, right.
That's a
All right.
close.
5x5.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 5, John Gallagher. Look for a motion.
Motion to grant.
Have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Granted. Number 6, Stetson. Look for a motion.
Motion to grant.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, granted. Okay, and number 7, Lake Plaza Shopping Center LLC.
Should we take these one at a time?
Yeah, we'll go one at a time.
Right.
On the tenant space, 2 to 11, 1 sign per establishment. 1 sign per establishment plus 1 under canopy sign at 10 square feet, which is 5 square feet per side, will be provided. The variance required is a second sign where only 1 is allowed.
Meaning the other side of the canopy, basically, right?
No, you're allowed to have 1 sign on the
1
building.
sign
On the
per,
building.
There will be a second
Oh,
sign
okay.
on the building.
With the both,
Under the
with
canopy.
both sides.
Both sides, it's gonna be 10 square feet, but I would put that in the, if you choose to grant it, be specific as to
Under canopy.
under canopy, size of the sign not to exceed 10 square feet, and not a lit illuminated sign.
And also
what you
provided that
discussed, I believe.
there's planning board approval, there's site plan approval for that too, because that was the other note I took on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
condition that.
Condition it that site plan approval must be granted within X amount of years? Is that what you would do for that? Or just condition it on the approval of this map?
I would, yeah.
Condition on the approval of this
Of
site
this-
plan that is
this site.
submitted.
Okay.
It's denied, it has the denied stamp by the board on it, so.
And Joe, can we vote on each individual variance here?
Sure.
And just, it'll be
Collectively
picked up
one
as such?
application, but you can go point by point.
Okay.
Okay.
So I guess I'll look for a motion on that first section of this request.
All right. A motion to grant.
Lawyers down here.
I'm gonna give it a shot. All right, a motion to grant with the following restrictions.
Grant. Nobody wanted to make.
First, that the canopy signs not be illuminated, that the canopy signs be
Under-
5 by 1 foot in size, that the canopy signs be under the canopy, and that this approval is
Subject to the site
subject, I
plan.
couldn't think of the word, subject to the approval of the final site plan by the planning board. Did I miss anything?
No, that sounds good.
You got it all.
Okay, do I have a second on that
You're
section?
better than I am. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Sure.
Aye.
Okay, that portion of this application is carried. I'll break it down to A, B, C, and D. B is Stop and Shop, 1 sign per establishment per road frontage. 2, they actually brought it down from 7 signs down to 6. that they're gonna put-
Five.
Well, provided, and then the variance will be now 4 signs facing Route 6, right? Do I have that right?
Motion to grant 5 signs?
Time
one-
out.
3.
3 signs facing Route 6, 1 facing Baldwin Lane. Correct, that's what I'm saying, so it's only 3 that are facing Route 6.
No.
Per road
Am I
frontage,
confused
it's
again? I'm
4.
sorry.
Frontage,
It's
I'm sorry.
4.
It's Stop and Shop,
Peapod,
Peapod,
Fast Care.
Pharmacy, Fast Care.
That's it.
That's it,
And then the side one is the pickup.
but that's legal. You're allowed to
One
have
of those
sign.
signs is legal.
You're
right.
allowed to have a sign facing Route 6, and allowed to have a sign facing,
Right.
And that's why I
Baldwin
said
Lane.
4 signs facing Route 6 now from 5.
That's
Because they got
correct.
rid
So
of
they
That
need a
is
variance.
correct.
the
So-
Peapod lockers.
So we're granting a variance for 3
That's
signs,
correct.
meaning the Peapod sign, the Fast Care sign, and the pharmacy sign, correct?
Correct.
3 of the 4, whichever, yep, whichever one you want to be. The legal one doesn't matter to me.
So 3 signs.
3 additional signs, yeah.
And subject to site plan approval from the planning board.
Okay.
Okay, do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Part B, granted. Part C, Stop and Shop sign area, 40 square feet per commercial establishment per sign. What's provided is a Stop and Shop sign at 400.2 square feet, Peapod locker sign at 177 square feet. For the Stop and Shop sign, the variance would be required of 360 square feet, and
Take
for
your
the
lock.
Peapod locker sign is a variance of 137 square feet. They've agreed to get rid of the Peapod locker sign, and from what I understood, bringing the Stop and Shop sign down from 400.2 square feet to 300 square feet.
Which would be a variance of
260.
260.
Motion to grant the Stop and Shop sign at 300 square feet, variance of 260 square feet, provided site plan approval.
Seconded. Second?
Second.
And no
All-
locker signage?
And no lockers, let me amend it to say no locker signage as well, because that was
Correct.
on that part one. Okay.
All right, then you second it?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And finally, Part D is standard spaces must measure 10 feet by
Nope, you
20
skipped
feet.
one.
That's,
No, you skipped one.
Go up one.
oh, I'm sorry.
6
I don't have
parking
glasses
spaces.
tonight. 6 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet gross floor area is what the code requires. 4.2 parking spaces per 1,000 square foot gross area, floor area, and the variance required is 1.8 parking spaces per 1,000 square foot gross floor area. I'll look for a motion.
Motion to grant.
Second.
Second. Seconded
Second.
by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion granted. Sorry, Section E, standard spaces, the code requires that standard spaces must measure 10 by 20 feet. What's being provided is 9 feet by 19 feet, which is a variance of 1 foot by 1 foot. I'll look for a motion.
Motion to grant.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I think that's enough for Rose. I don't think we have to recite any of this. She'll be able to pick that up for the minutes, right? So, that's it for, right, the minutes from 1/28/2016. I'll look for a motion. Good night, folks. Do
Motion to grant, or motion to accept.
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. This concludes the February 2016 Zoning Board of Appeals Town of Carmel meeting. Thank you. Have a good night.
Roger.